So let's say that you had a tough childhood. A lot of us have had tough childhoods, I guess, and because of that, you've just got some emotional stuff that's just keeping you from having the life you want to lead. And so you're thinking, well, maybe I ought to go off and go to therapy, right? Maybe that'll really help. Or let's say that you've had that same kind of life or something like that, and you can't quite get yourself to do what you want to do. And therapy doesn't quite seem like the thing you want to do. But you're thinking, well, okay, I've heard about mindset coaching. I've heard about life coaching. Maybe therapy's not quite the thing. Maybe coaching's the thing for me. And so you're thinking, well, it's either therapy or coaching. I don't really know what I want to do, but it's got to be one of those, right? Not so fast. I'm Dr. Stephen Brownlow. I am the founder and developer of ADEPT Psychology, author of Emotions in Psychology and Psychotherapy. And I want to say that there is a third way that's different from both therapy and mindset coaching. And people ask me a lot, what is it that ADEPT Psychology is exactly? What is it that you do? How is it different from therapy? I understand therapy. How is it different from coaching? I understand coaching. And the best way to tell you that really is to start by explaining what it isn't, using those two as an example. So with therapy is really based on the idea of mental illness. And mental illness means there's something significantly wrong with you and it's not changing. I mean, mental illness isn't like cold or maybe the flu that you get in and it's pretty severe, but you take care of yourself and give it the proper treatment and it gets better. And it's not even like, strep throat or something like that, or pneumonia that maybe you have to take some pretty serious antibiotics to kill it, or it might kill you. But once you do it, then you're kind of over with and maybe there's scars, but you're pretty much going to be okay. It's not like either of those. When they talk about mental illness, they're talking about illnesses more like diabetes or congestive heart failure, maybe. These are things that are definitely serious and they're not getting better. They're never going to get better. The best you can do about it is just learn to live with it. And maybe if you learn to live with it, okay, then, that's it. That's all you can do. And I'm going to say that people who come with emotional problems, they don't have that kind of illness. I mean, I've helped people untangle emotional stuff and I know it gets better, and it's not just taking care of symptoms. Now, that's the next thing to talk about with therapy, is that really, and part of it is the therapists and part of it in their training, because they're trained to deal with mental illness, but they're really kind of in cahoots with the insurance industry. And I just want to say right now, the insurance industry is not your friend. The insurance industry is there to make money, and the two ways they make money are either to deny claims or raise premiums, and in the case of mental illness, they do both. Now, so somebody comes in and they're not really mentally ill, but the therapist kind of makes it look like they're more mentally ill than they are so that they can work with them, because the person clearly needs help, but then the insurance industry gets a hold of it and they don't want to pay. And so there's a lot of stuff, and they have sweetheart deals with the pharmaceutical industry, and it's cheaper to use drugs than it is to provide therapy. And so after a while, they start wanting to put people on medication they don't really need, which they then use as an excuse to deny people life insurance and stuff like that, because, at least raise them into a higher bracket where it's a lot more money to get life insurance, because, hey, you're mentally ill, and, we all know that mentally ill people don't live as long, and so forth. And so it's a racket. They're there to make sure that your symptoms get treated, not to make sure that you get better, because by definition, if you got mental illness, you can't get better. Okay, so that's a bad model. Let's go with coaching. Coaching's got to be better than that, right? Well, coaching does sound a lot better. It's got two ideas that sound really good, though, that I want to talk about that I think are both really counterproductive the way they work out. One is accountability, and the other one is empowerment. Okay, so accountability, people need to do what they say. I agree with that. Everybody agrees with that. If you agree to do something, you ought to do it. Okay, good. The problem with, though, when you're dealing with people who sort of have lost their inner vision, they don't see what it is that their life is about, what it is they want to do, because they've got all this emotional stuff in the way. And the coach, by the way, is not dealing with the emotional stuff. They're dealing with beliefs, which is sort of like a level or two above the emotional stuff. And so you're not really getting to the emotional stuff. But putting that aside, what you have is this whole idea that, you need to be accountable for what you say you're going to do. Well, if you don't know what you want to do, then you're likely to say anything sounds like a good idea, or you're likely to agree that, well, that's something that sounds good. Well, I don't know about you, but if I think something sounds good, if I don't know what to do and I start doing it, after a while, this is what I find with people I've worked with for a long time, they'll start out great guns doing something, and then after a while, it's like, why am I doing that? What? Why am I doing that? And it's because the coach is holding them accountable for what the coach suggested, not what came from them. People shouldn't be accountable to other people. If I have the vision, I'm accountable to the vision. If you have a vision you're trying to give to me, I'm not accountable for that at all. It's not up to me whether I follow what you do. That's your problem. That's not my problem. Okay, now the other one I want to talk about is empowerment. And again, empowerment sounds really good at a certain level. We think, well, people want power. Certainly, I think people need power. The problem is that the whole way empowerment comes across is that there are certain people who have power and certain people who don't have power, and the people who don't have power need to be given power by the people who are outside. Well, I'm just going to say, if you're looking outside you for power, just like if you're looking outside you for love or anything else, to get any of your needs met, it's not going to happen. You have power. You've always had power. You haven't known how to use power. And so you haven't used your power, but the power has always been yours. So you don't need somebody to come give you your power. What you need is to realize your power. You need to take on your own power. And that comes when you do grab your own vision, which comes when you get rid of untangling all of this emotional junk that's been piled on, which, yes, did start in childhood. But that doesn't mean that you're mentally ill. It means that you are a normal person who never was taught how to untangle all the emotional stuff. So that is what ADEPT Psychology believes. ADEPT Psychology believes that you have the power. You've always had the power. You're accountable to yourself. You need help untangling emotional stuff, but that doesn't mean that you need to focus on symptoms. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you need to be screwed around because you're doing it. It means you need help reaching out to find who you are. And once you do, then you can turn around and give somebody else help, reaching up to find out who they are. That's what I believe. And that's the way ADEPT Psychology is set up. So I'm Dr. Stephen Brownlow. And if this has resonated with you, please go down, leave me a comment. Tell me, this is great. Tell me, you suck. I don't care what you tell me. Just get involved. This is your life. You have the power.